Welcome to Life Lessons from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we continue with our discussions of the 11th canto. I apologize for running late, just different things going. Some technical issues. I believed I had everything set up and then turns out that I hadn't. So just bear with me as I get Instagram going as well. We have some music in the meantime. So just bear with me. I'll be with you as soon as I can. There we go. Okay, hopefully that'll come on now. And as we wait for our friends to arrive, we can just chant a couple of verses from the Bhagavatam as invocation. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.3.40 Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Uttama Shloka Charitam Chakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreyashaya Lokasya Nanyam Svastyaya Namahat. This Srimad Bhagavatam is the literary incarnation of God, and it is compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the incarnation of God. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people, and it is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Chant one more verse, 1.3.41. Taridam grahayam asha sutam atmatnatam varam sarva vedita hasanam saram saram samudritam. Sri Vyasadeva delivered it to his son, who was the most respected among the self-realized, after extracting the cream of all Vedic literatures and the histories of the universe. So it doesn't seem we have Instagram working, which is unfortunate because we've been getting quite a few participants through Instagram. So I'm going to see what happens here. We have Kirtina with us. Thank you, Kirtina, for being with us. Shama Manjari as well, running from South Africa. And Instagram is still not working. So I'm not sure what to do about this. I'm going to try one more time. Do a little edit. And if we don't get it, then what to do? We just carry on. Yeah, this is good live, so we'll just carry on. Actually, I have one more possible solution, so stay with me, Nikunja. Thanks for joining. Having some technical issues today. We will be there. Just going to try another approach. Not ideal, but something. Go live over here. No. Live, and there we are. Okay, we'll try that. We'll go live that way. Welcome, Nikunja. in Auckland, New Zealand. Thanks for joining, and welcome everyone on Instagram joining this discussion. So we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 3, and we are discussing the entire chapter today. Welcome, Abhiyatma. Thanks for being with us. We're going to discuss the entire chapter, so it's not Chapter 3, Chapter 4. And this chapter continues the discussion between King Nimi and the Nine Yogendras. Today, the question that they ask, King Nimi asks, is what are the activities of the avatars? So that's what we're going to be exploring, the activities of the avatars, and it's going to be very interesting. I really enjoyed reading as I prepared for our discussion today. I'm going to begin by telling you a little story, a life story. This is from our Polish festival tour. Actually we did it once. We did a play called Indra versus Indra. This was a little word play because our festival organizer was Indrajumna Maharaj. The festival's been going on for 30 odd years now, and often we would experience rain, even though it's summer in Poland. We'd sometimes have torrential downpour. So this story, this play, it built on that experience that everyone was familiar with. It brought in some other ideas that we are going to be reading about today from this 4th chapter of the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Indra becomes envious or jealous of a yogi's spiritual progress. So this story began with Indra becoming anxious about Indrajumna Swami holding countless festivals of the holy name, the Nam Yagya, across Poland, earning immense spiritual credit that Indra feared would lead to Indrajumna Swami taking over his celestial throne. And in desperation, Indra devised a plan. He summoned his most powerful Shambhartaka clouds. These are clouds only used at the time of universal inundation. And he sent them to unleash torrential rain on the festivals and the Harinams. So yeah, in reality, our festivals and Harinams would often encounter rain. But Maharaj would always insist that the Harinam and the festivals continued regardless of the weather. And people reciprocated. They would gather under umbrellas or tents or storefronts, or watch the Harinam or the festival from apartment windows, undeterred by the rain. And so as long as there were people there, Maharaj would have us continue as well. And so in the play, Indra hears that the rain has failed to halt the Nama Yagya, the festival of the holy name. And so he devises another approach, and that is to send his most beautiful apsaras to distract Maharaj and the devotees. We're going to read about that today, a case of that from our Bhagavatam discussion. So the apsaras, they go to the festival, to the Harinam, but they're invited to join other women in chanting and dancing in the kirtan. And so they get swept up in the apsaras get swept up in the joyful atmosphere, and they fail, they're unable to execute Indra's nefarious plan. And so growing more frustrated, Indra considers using violence to intimidate Maharaj and the devotees. However, he soon discovers that they're no strangers to attacks. There was a period where now festivals and Harinams were under frequent attack from skinheads and hooligans who would try to disrupt the events with even Molotov cocktails or baseball bats, with knives, with tear gas. We've experienced all of that. And despite these attacks, the festivals and the Harinams always continued under Maharaj's guidance. And so Indra next thought to tarnish Maharaj's reputation. Yet he found that anti-cult groups had already tried to do this as well. They tried to defame him for over many years in the media. And yet Maharaj and the festival of the holy name continued on. And so at his wit's end, Indra sat in distress when Narada Muni arrived. And seeing Indra's frustration, Narada asked him what troubled him. And after listening to Indra's concerns, Narada laughed and reassured him. He said, "You have nothing to worry about. Indra Swami is a devotee of Krishna. He's a Vaishnava. He has no interest in your throne. His only desire is to serve his guru, Srila Prabhupada, by spreading Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, spreading the Sankirtan Yagya far and wide." And so relieved, Indra abandoned his schemes, and in a turn of heart, he joined the kirtan, the festival of the holy name. So it was a nice play. We talked about it for years afterwards. It continues even to this day. It comes up from time to time. And so why am I telling this story? Because once again, we're going to hear a story about Indra having some anxiety around his position and trying to distract some yogis from their determination to execute devotional service. It turns out that these are no ordinary yogis, though. This is no ordinary yogi. And so Indra meets his match in this story. It comes within the context of a question. And that question is one of 9 questions that King Nimi asks the 9 yogi Nava-Yogendras. And so this is question 7. What is the avatar? And so let's dive in. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're going to discuss this chapter under 3 headings. 1, the Purusha and Guna Avataras, verses 1 to 5. 2, Nara-Narayana Rsi, the supermost human being, incarnation. And 3, the Lila Avataras. So this will be verses 17 to 23. We begin with the first section, the Purusha and Guna Avataras. King Nimi asked of the 9 Yogendras, he said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends into this material world by his internal potency, acting according to his own will, his own desire. He says, so please tell me about these avatars, these descents of the Lord that have taken place in the past, are taking place now, and will take place into the future. And so Drumila, he is the Yogendra who takes on this question. And he says, well, your question in one sense is quite impossible to answer because Krishna's incarnations are unlimited. He says they are countless. Well, elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, we learn that they are countless like the waves in the ocean. Ete cham sakalo pumsa. Indrari vyakalam yokam. Bridayanti yuge yuge. Ete cham sakalo pumsa. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swam says these incarnations of the Lord and the incarnation, his direct incarnations and the incarnations of his partial manifestations, they are innumerable like the waves in the ocean. So Drumila says, he gives a different example. He says, even if a great genius could somehow count all the dust on the surface of the earth, this genius would never be able to count all the incarnations of the Supreme Lord. He says, but I'll tell you about some of them. So he begins by describing the Purusha Avataras. He says that when the primeval Lord Narayan created his universal body using the 5 elements, that were produced from himself. He then entered into this universal body by his own plenary portion, and thus he became known as the Purusha. So now we hear about the second. So we heard about the first Purusha, that's Karana Dakashaya Vishnu or Mahavishnu. Now the second Purusha is called Garbo Dakashaya Vishnu. He says, within the body of the universe, he resides, and he is the resting place for 3 planetary systems. He says his transcendental senses generate the knowledge acquiring senses and active senses of the jivas. That's you and I. His expansion as the supersoul, the witness, gives knowledge to the jivas. He says his prana, his life air, produces the bodily strength, sensory power, and activities of the jivas. Drumila tells us that this Lord, is the prime mover. Through his agency, the material modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance arise, and the universe is created, maintained, and destroyed. Next, he tells us about another group of avatars called the Guna Avataras. He says the original Supreme Personality manifested the form of Brahma through the mode of passion to create the universes. And then he manifested the form of Vishnu, the Lord of sacrifice, and twice born Brahmanas and their religious duties to maintain the universe. And then when the universe is to be annihilated, he employs the mode of ignorance and manifests the form of Shiva. And he says the created living beings are thus always subject to the forces of creation, maintenance, and destruction under the control of these Guna Avataras. So, Trubila has begun by telling us about Purusha Avatars and Guna Avatars. Let me say that these names for these categories are actually given by Lord Chaitanya. And it makes it easier for us to understand what the Bhagavatam is describing. In other words, we could read the description, and then our acharyas like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or Sanatana Goswami will say, these are the Purusha avatars. Now Bhagavatam is describing Guna avatars. Now Bhagavatam is describing Lila avatars. So we have this language to categorize the different types of avatars being explained, and it makes it easier for us to comprehend. Otherwise, we just hear lots of different descriptions, and it can be quite bewildering. But by the mercy of our acharyas, by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have some way of making sense of what is being explained to us. Another thing to understand here is how Krishna is acting by his own will. We are forced to appear in this world. Krishna appears of his own desire. He's performing different pastimes for his own pleasure. And these activities, these pastimes, are a reflection of his own transcendental freedom, reminding us that he's not bound by the forces of material nature. We also see here how everything is Krishna's creation. He's the source and controller of everything. When we realize this, then we understand that we are to serve him. We take everything that we see, everything that is given to us, and we make it as an offering of service for his pleasure. We engage our talents as an offering of service. And then the other thing to understand is this Drumila's teaching to us that the Lord is beyond our full comprehension. We are just being given hints. We are being given some ideas to awaken our curiosity, our interest, and our devotion. At the same time, we should understand that Krishna's greatness is such that it will always remain beyond our comprehension. So we understand what is given to us as revelation by mercy. That's the only way to understand. As Krishna tells Arjuna in the Gita, he says, Bhakto sibe sakacheti rahasyam hyatadutamam. because you're my devotee, because you're my friend, I'm revealing myself to you. And that's what it requires. Otherwise, our limited mind and intelligence are unable to comprehend the greatness of the divine. Let's go to our second topic, and we get a story here. It's quite wonderful. So Drimila is going to now explain the Lila Avatars, the pastime incarnations, and he will describe one of these pastime incarnations in great detail, and others will be just described in passing, just as a reference. So that'll be our third topic. But our second topic is one of these Lila avatars, and that is Nara-Narayana Rsi. Drimila says, Nara-Narayana Rsi is the best of sages. He's perfectly peaceful. He was born as the son of Dharma and his wife Murti. And Murti is a daughter of Daksha. He taught devotional service to the Supreme Lord, by which material attachment decreases. And he perfectly practiced this devotional service to show us an example. Drimila says, Nara-Narayana Rsi is living, he is performing his pastimes on earth even today, and his lotus feet are served by great saintly persons. Who knows where he resides? He resides at Badrikashram, and he's being served there by Vyasadeva and Narada Muni and other rishis. He says, once King Indra became fearful that Nara-Narayana Rsi would become very powerful by his severe penance and seize Indra's heavenly kingdom. So yes, this is one of those stories. Can you think of other examples like this from the Bhagavatam or the Mahabharata, Ramayana? Another example would be Markandeya Rishi. And there would be, who else? Who else can you think of? I'm going to leave it open. If you can think of other examples where Indra becomes jealous and tries to distract the performance of sacrifice or austerity or devotional service, put the name in the chat. So once Indra became fearful, he sent Kamadev, Cupid, along with his associates to the residence of Lord Nara-Narayan at Badrikashram. So who are his associates? His associates include Spring. His associates include many apsaras. And so they all come there to create a very pleasing atmosphere. There's a gentle breeze. Everything is very pleasant. There's beautiful fragrance of aromatic flowers. There are bees buzzing, birds chirping. And then Cupid, Kamadev, fires his arrows. And these arrows are in the form of, it's very interesting, the glances of beautiful apsaras. So yeah, you can take note of that, how Cupid's arrow takes the form of the glance, a sidelong glance, or maybe sometimes you'll find the eyes lock, and that's Cupid's arrow being shot. The question is if you look again or if you look back. It's one thing to lock eyes with a glance. Another thing is when we look back and then the arrow goes to the heart. We know there is attachment there. There is lust there. And then the next thing is whether we follow up on that. And so Nara-Narayan, he's receiving these arrows of Cupid in the form of the glances of the beautiful apsaras. And he understands, this is Indra. Indra is trying to distract me. So When Kampadev did this to, yeah, I don't see any of you put names there of other examples. So other examples would be Prithu Maharaj. Indra kept stealing his horse. There would also be Vishwamitra, right? Vishwamitra was distracted by Menaka, whom Indra sent to distract. He was concerned that Vishwamitra was becoming too powerful in his austerities. Who else? There would also be Shiva. Indra sent Cupid to distract Shiva as well, along with Rati, with Spring. And Abhiyatma says he also tried to distract Krishna, Madan Mohan, but was unsuccessful. Thank you, Abhiyatma. So yeah, there are lots of examples. In the case of Shiva, Shiva became angry and burnt Cupid. But here in the case of Nara-Narayana Rsi, Nara-Narayana Rsi is not angry. He doesn't become angry. He laughs. And he says to Cupid and his followers, who are now trembling in front of him, he says, "Do not fear, O mighty Madana, O wind god and Apsaras. Rather, please accept these gifts that I'm offering you and kindly sanctify my ashram with your presence." And speaking thus, Nara-Narayana Rsi, he pacified the fear of the demigods. And they bowed their heads in shame and they offered prayers, trying to invoke his compassion. They're still a little afraid. So it's a daring mission to try to distract a great rishi, a great personality like Lord Shiva or Prithu or Vishwamitra or others, Kardama Muni or Nara-Narayana Rsi. If it doesn't work and they become angry, then they might destroy everyone. And so he smiles, he laughs, and he pacifies them, but they're still afraid. And so they offer these prayers. They say, "Dear Lord, you are always transcendental. You are beyond the reach of illusion. Therefore, you are forever changeless. Your causeless compassion towards us, despite our offense, is not unusual for you. Since innumerable great sages who are self-satisfied and free from anger and false pride bow down at your lotus feet." You know, this is very interesting what they say here. "The demigods place many obstacles on the path of those who worship you to transcend the temporary abodes of the demigods and reach your supreme abode." So they admit they have a way of putting obstacles in the way, in the path of powerful devotees. And why? They're envious. Those who offer the demigods their assigned shares in sacrificial performance don't encounter these obstacles. But because you are the direct protector of your devotee, the devotee is able to step over the head of whatever obstacles the demigods place before them. Some people practice great austerity to cross beyond our influence, which are like the waves of the ocean. Which are like an ocean with endless waves of hunger, thirst, heat, cold, and other conditions brought about by the passing of time, such as the sensuous wind and the urges of the tongue and sex desire. Nevertheless, although crossing this ocean of sense gratification through severe penance, such persons foolishly drown in a cow's hoofprint when conquered by useless anger. Thus, they exhaust the benefit of their difficult austerities in vain. So, this is interesting. Even though some yogis, they're not distracted by the obstacles that the demigods put in their way, but they become angry. And in becoming angry, they burn up all of their pious credits, and then they have to start over again. And the demigods feel secure because this person doesn't have any great abundance of pious merit that might enable them to become the ruler of heaven. So yeah, quite wild. I remember years ago, when I was a child, actually, one sannyasi fell down, and I asked a senior devotee, one of my teachers in school, she was my English teacher, and I said, how is it possible that a sannyasi such as so-and-so, I won't give the name, can leave that position? And she quoted this section of the 11th canto. She says, the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam says, sometimes the demigods put obstacles in the path of great yogis and devotees to try to bewilder them. So that's interesting. This is where it comes from. But the demigods are they're revealing something very interesting here. Even if the yogi can overcome those enticements, their anger can be the thing that undoes them. So we can discuss that a little more. So the demigods are praising Nara-Narayana, the all-powerful Lord, and as they are praising him, he did something most wonderful. He manifested before their eyes many beautiful women who were astonishingly gorgeous. They were decorated with fine ornaments and clothes, and they were faithfully engaged in serving the Lord. And when the demigods, Cupid and the Apsaras and the others that had come with him, saw the mystic beauty of these women created by Nara-Narayana Rsi, and they smelled the fragrance of their bodies, their minds became bewildered. And they felt completely diminished in their own opulence. We told these who were bowing down before him, please choose one of these women, whomever you find desirable, she will become an ornament to the heavenly planets. So who did they choose? They chose Urvasi, vibrating the sacred syllable Om as an ascent. So be it. The demigods selected Urvasi, the best of all Apsaras. Placing her in front of them out of respect, they returned to Indra's heaven, and they explained to Indra the supreme power of Narayan. And when Indra heard of Nara-Narayana Rsi and became aware of the offense that he had made, he became both astonished and afraid. So we can pause here and just reflect on some of these points. Nara-Narayana Rishi's creation of women more beautiful than the Apsaras shows that material allurements are insignificant in front of Krishna's power. When Cupid attacked with arrows in the form of these irresistible glances from the Apsaras, Nara-Narayana Rishi was unaffected. No material temptation can distract him because everything is created by him. It's his own creation. And he showed that by creating women more beautiful than the celestial nymphs, the Apsaras. Nara-Narayana revealed that all beauty and power ultimately emanate from him. They emanate from Krishna. And spiritual strength will always surpass material attractions. Another point is to appreciate how austerities without bhakti will often lead to failure. As those lacking bhakti, they can become overwhelmed by anger or material desires. A devotee is focused on Krishna, and this ensures Krishna's protection and success. and it makes all the obstacles insignificant. The Bhagavatam gives many examples of Brahmins who succumb to anger despite their great austerities. So yeah, I could ask you to put some names here as well. Angry Brahmins from the Bhagavatam. We have Durvasa Muni, who cursed Ambarish Maharaj out of anger. Ambarish Maharaj was protected by his devotion by Krishna. Sudarshan came to forgive him, to protect him, sorry. What about the very beginning of the Bhagavatam? It begins with a curse by the angry Brahmana Shringi. He curses Maharaj Parikshit for a very minor offense. So what can happen is that the Brahmins, with their austerity and learning, they can become intolerant of offenses, of attachment, of some mistake, a minor mistake or offense. And we see how their anger causes great trouble for them and for others as well. Daksha cursed Narad Muni for encouraging his sons to become bhakti yogis and renounce their princely roles and interest in family life. Vashishta, he actually cursed King Nimi. So we're discussing King Nimi's discussion with the Nine Yogendras. Later on, Vashishta is going to curse him. And why? Because King Nimi didn't wait for Vashishta to complete a sacrifice. Vashishta was performing another sacrifice elsewhere. And so Nimi went ahead with his sacrifice, and Vashishta came back and he saw the sacrifice had already taken place, and he became very angry, and he cursed Nimi to die, actually, to lose his body. He says, may you lose your body. So yeah, that's another story. It's the same King Nimi that we're discussing here. That's described in the 9th canto of the Bhagavatam. So yeah, many stories of angry Brahmanas and the Bhagavatam and Mahabharata. Here we see Nara-Narayana Rsi is not angry. Despite the distractions by the Apsaras, he's not angry at all. He's not distressed, he's not disturbed. The demigods have tried to tempt him, tried to disturb his austerities, but he's remained undisturbed and free from anger. And rather than reacting, he's shown that he's taught the demigods a lesson by producing Apsaras more beautiful than them, and also giving them a gift of Urvasi. So these stories reveal the difference between those who are reliant on austerities versus those who are grounded in bhakti, grounded in devotion. Bhakti ensures that we remain calm and composed and untouched by these worldly distractions, undisturbed by a challenge. Whereas with austerity, without bhakti, we see that the Brahmins, the sages, they can be vulnerable to anger or material temptations. So our final point then for this section is how obstacles are inevitable in spiritual life. We should know that, we should accept that, especially those aiming to transcend the material nature, to reach the spiritual sky. Demigods are going to send obstacles out of envy. They've told us here. They're going to send obstacles, fearing loss of their positions. However, these obstacles can't hinder the sincere devotee, as Krishna protects his devotees. And so the devotees rise above the obstacles with Krishna's grace. Krishna may allow the test to be there, and he may even see the devotee tested at some, distracted at some point, but ultimately Krishna will protect the devotee and lift them up and support their continued progress, continued purification, enabling them to reach him ultimately. Let's go to our third section then. We're going to hear about other Lila Avatars, pastime incarnations. Drubila tells us that the Supreme Lord Vishnu has descended in this world by various incarnations, such as Lord Hamsa, the swan. Hamsa imparted Vedic knowledge to Brahma and Brahma's sons, actually, the four Kumars. So these are the first incarnations it describes, actually, are incarnations who give knowledge. Lord Hamsa, the swan incarnation, Dattatreya. Dattatreya is a combination. Well, he's an incarnation of Vishnu, but he also has the potencies within him of Brahma and Shiva. And he also teaches knowledge. We're actually going to the next chapters, once we finish this description, and we begin the Uddhava Gita, then there is a section where we learn about lessons from nature. And that's actually described by the incarnation Dattatreya. He's very compassionate and very merciful. And he shows us how to accept different aspects of nature as our guru and take lessons from nature. Another incarnation of the four Kumars. So these are Shaktiavesh incarnations. And then Drubila says, and our father, he's also one of these incarnations who teaches knowledge. He says, by such incarnations, the Lord, so Rishabdev, that's their father. He says, by such incarnations, the Lord teaches the science of self-realization for the benefit of the whole universe. And it is in his incarnation as Hayagriva, he killed a demon named Madhu and brought the Vedas back from the lower planetary realm called Patalaloka. Hayagriva is a horse incarnation. We don't hear a lot about Hayagriva in the Bhagavatam, but he is mentioned in different places that he rescues the Vedas. And the name itself says that he has the form of a horse. Next, Drubila describes incarnations who protect the earth. He says, in his appearance as a fish, the Lord protected Satyavrata Manu and the earth and her valuable herbs. He protected them from the waters of inundation. As a boar, Varahadev, the Lord protected the earth, lifting her up from the universal waters, and he killed Hiranyaksha, the son of Diti. Next, we learn of the Lord as a protector of the heavens. As a tortoise, he lifted up the Mandara mountain on his back so that the demigods could churn nectar from the milk ocean. Lord Hari saved the surrendered king of the elephants, Gajendra, who was suffering terrible distress in the grips of a crocodile. The Lord also delivered the tiny ascetic stages named the Valakilyas when they fell into the water in a cow's hoofprint, and Indra was laughing at them. The Lord then saved Indra when Indra was covered by darkness due to sinful reaction for killing Vritrasura. When the wives of the demigods were trapped in the palace of the demons without any shelter, the Lord saved them. In his incarnation of Narasimha, the Lord killed Hiranyakashipu, the king of the demons, to free the saintly devotees from fear. We learn about the Lord as the protector of demigods. The Supreme Lord regularly takes advantage of the wars between the demons and the demigods to kill the leaders of the demons. And he encourages the demigods by protecting the universe through his incarnations, through his reigns in each Manu. The Lord appeared as Vamana and took the earth away from Bali Maharaj on the plea of begging 3 paces of land. The Lord then returned the entire earth entire world to the sons of Diti. now as a punisher of demoniac kings. Drumila says, Lord Parashuram appeared in the family of Brigu as a fire that burned to ashes the dynasty of Haihaya. He killed the Kshatriyas 21 times. The same Lord appeared as Ramachandra, the husband of Sita Devi, and killed the 10-headed Ravana along with all the soldiers of Lanka. He says, may that Sri Ram, whose glories destroy the contamination of the world, be always victorious. Jiva Goswami says that here in this section, Drumila is speaking in the present tense. And so King Nimi had asked, tell us about the appearances of the Lord in the past, the present, and the future. And so, according to Jiva Goswami, Sri Ram is the present incarnation. The others were past. Ram is present. And also Nara-Narayana Rsi was said to be still existing today. And now we will hear about the future incarnations at the time that this is spoken. He says, to diminish the burden of the earth, the unborn Lord will take birth in the Yadu dynasty and perform feats impossible for the demigods. So that's Krishna. Then, propounding speculative philosophy, the Lord as Buddha will bewilder unworthy performers of Vedic sacrifices. So that's an incarnation in Kali Yuga. Then he says, and as Kalki, the Lord will kill all low-class men posing as rulers at the end of the age of Kali. Drumila will now conclude. Almighty armed King Nimi, there are innumerable appearances and activities of the Lord of the universe similar to those that I have mentioned. In fact, the glories of the Lord are unlimited. So we can reflect here about Krishna's appearances as these different Lila Avataras. The Lila Avataras are pastime incarnations. They reveal not only his protective and guiding of the living beings in this world, but also his playful spirit in enacting these colorful dramas, whether he's saving Gajendra from a crocodile or lifting up Mandara mountain and having a back scratch as Kurma, or whether he's taking back the worlds as Vamana. These incarnations show how he also takes joy in his divine play. And as we hear these pastimes and meditate on them, we can also delight in Krishna's playful nature and develop our love for him. As he protected the universe with joy and grace, we can also find joy in remembering these pastimes and deepen our relationship with him through devotion and appreciation of his leelas, of his pastimes. And in doing so, we are assured that in our moments of distress, we can also turn to him with faith, knowing that he manifests in various ways to protect and guide us, just as he did for the demigods and the sages. Even in the darkest time, Krishna's care is always present. He takes forms that we may not expect. So we will conclude with a prayer that also summarizes our lessons here. Beloved Krishna, O Lord of countless forms and pastimes, we bow before you, whose will governs and sustains creation. You who descend by your own desire, reveal that all beauty, all power, and all knowledge flow from you. May we always remember that we are but instruments of your will and humbly offer our gifts in your service. Teach us, dear Lord, to transcend the fleeting temptations of this world, just as Nara-Narayana remained unmoved by allurements. May our devotion anchor us in your grace, protecting us from the storms of anger and desire. And as you delight in your playful avatars, where you protect and uplift the universe, let us find joy. May our hearts rejoice in your divine Leela, and may our faith grow as we trust in your ever-present care. Okay, let me acknowledge some of you who joined as I started speaking. And in the meantime, if you have comments or questions, put them into the chat and we can explore further. So we have, let's see, Abhiyatma joining us from Christchurch, New Zealand. Welcome, Abhiyatma. Great to have you here with us. It's always an honor. Harinam Dayasindhu joining from Sydney, Australia says, Hari Hari. Welcome, Harinam Ji. Looking forward to seeing you soon in Sri Vrindavan Dham during Kartik. Lokesh Yadav says, Radhe Shyam. Thank you for joining us, Lokesh. And Lokesh is joining us from YouTube. So we broadcast simultaneously across a few platforms. Facebook, where most of you are joining us from, YouTube and Instagram as well. Although today our Instagram stream had some hiccups, so we just went live with our phone. It's not a perfect view, and unfortunately, I don't know how to find the comments here, but no. Okay, Shamalaki is with us from Chicago. Welcome, Shamalaki. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Okay, Nikunja says, sorry, Prabhu, the kirtan is distracting from hearing you. Yeah, okay, I played some music at the very beginning. It's the first time I've done that. And I played it internally through the computer. So it's good feedback. Thanks for letting me know, Nikunja, that you found that distracting. And I think Shamalaki said it's too loud as well. So yeah, we'll further consider how and when to apply that, if, how, and when. We have Donald Mason with us. Donald says, why is Indra? What is Indra sending all this rain to Florida for? So that is a joke for friends joining from the US, because there is a cyclone. Is it a cyclone or a tornado that's heading towards Florida right now? And in the lead up to that, there's a lot of rain. And so Donald said, why is Indra sending all this rain to Florida? Donald, maybe it's your devotional service or all the devotees there in Alachua. Indra's feeling threatened, so he's decided to send that rain. Great to have you with us, Donald. Okay, Lokesh, Radhesham, Shamalaki. Yeah, too loud. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, Donald said music is distracting. Thanks for that feedback. It was the first time I tried it, so good to get feedback. Michelle joining us from Bangalore. Thanks, Michelle. Says Hari Vol. Great to see you, Michelle. Always a pleasure to connect with you. And Bangalore. Yeah, thank you for writing that in, because I can never remember if it's Bangalore or Bangalore. So that helps. Shamalaki says, Jai Gurudev, our light and inspiration. So in response to the story I told earlier about a play we once did, Donald said, it just started raining really hard here at Daytona Beach. All the best there, Donald. We hope you're safe. And the rest of you are safe there, because I understand there's some heavy weather headed in your direction. Janaki is with us from Hungary. Janaki says, Hari Bol, great to have you with us, Janaki. Hope all is well with you. Abhiyatma says, was it Cupid who came to Vrindavan and tried to lure Krishna, but he became bewildered by Krishna's beauty? Absolutely it was. Madana tried to bewilder Krishna while Krishna was dancing with the gopis. And so this is a story that we learn. Well, in this story, what we learn from it is how Krishna's dancing with the gopis is not based on lust, but transcendental love. And so as Cupid came to Vrindavan to try to put Krishna under his influence by shooting his flower arrows, he was trying to take aim. And as he was trying to take aim, Krishna was dancing and striking different dancing poses. And so it was difficult for Cupid to take aim. But as he kept following Krishna with his eyes, trying to take aim to fire his arrows, he became completely bewildered and captivated by Krishna's beauty. And so Madana is a name for Cupid, and Krishna took the name Madana Mohana, the one who bewilders Cupid. Because eventually Cupid fell unconscious because of Krishna's beauty as he was trying to take aim with his flower arrows. That pastime took place at a place, that pastime happened at a place called something Til, Dvadashaditya Til, the hill of 1,000 suns, or the hill of 10,000 suns, which is where Sanatana Goswami constructed the Madan Mohan temple. So now you have a geographical reference for that pastime of how Krishna took the name Madana Mohan. And then, of course, we have another name, Madana Mohana Mohini. That although Krishna defeated Cupid with his beauty, Krishna himself is defeated by Srimati Radharani, Madana Mohana Mohini. Thank you, Amayatma. Shamalaki says, I'm so thankful to attract Kripa of the most merciful Srila Gurudev, it's Indrajumna Maharaj, who is Krishna's manifestation in my life and blessing us every day to be able to start learning how to serve and love Krishna again. It is such a blessing to learn from very advanced devotees like yourself regularly. Thank you for all the sacred knowledge. We should never take it for granted. Vaishnavas are the most precious jewels of the whole universe, helping us come back home to Goloka. Yeah, thank you for that appreciation, Shamalaki. Yes, Vaishnavas, they are our treasure. By the mercy of Vaishnavas, we get the mercy of Krishna. And in your life, and in my life, and in the life of so many, that agent of mercy has been Indrajumna Maharaj. For other devotees here on this call, it will be other Vaishnavas. So thank you for that appreciation. Krishangi says, Hare Krishna. Krishangi joining us from Sydney, Australia. Great to see you. Great to have you with us. Shamalaki has another comment. I'm not preaching yet because when I'm watching Srila Gurudev or you with so much humanity, humbleness, and knowledge and bhakti, I feel so unqualified. So I'm working to purify myself more to be able to remove more ego and get more spiritual intelligence, learning from you, learning to be more humble, then share with that purified consciousness. This humanity and humbleness is so attractive, but expensive. It takes practice and discipline and understanding. So thank you for that reflection, Shamalaki. Let me say that when we go, so Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, when with a lonely heart will I go and share the divine command? When with a humble heart will I go and spread Chaitanya's message? So he's praying for it. And the intention and the prayer to have that humility becomes our qualification. So even though we feel we don't have it and we are unqualified, Prabhupada and our Guru Maharaj have asked us to preach. And so we recognize we're not qualified, and we go with that humility and humanity and compassion. And through that process, we become qualified. There's an empowerment that happens. If we think we're qualified, then we're not qualified. If we realize we're not qualified, and we go with that humility and with prayerfulness, then Krishna will engage us as an instrument, and we become a channel for that mercy to flow somehow or other. And we can be astonished at what Krishna does through that sincere heart. Even though we lack intelligence, we'll be surprised at how Krishna and Guru empower one with the right words and the right framing in the right moment. So yeah, we don't need to wait necessarily for the qualification. Rather, it's the appreciation and recognition that we don't have qualification, but the acceptance of the burden of the mission that we inherit as our legacy, that then it gives us some empowerment to be a channel for Krishna's grace to flow. Thank you for that honest and sincere reflection, Shamalaki. Nikunja says the sages became angry when Samba pretended to be pregnant and was cursed. Yeah, that's good. A good example of Brahmanas becoming angry. So we discussed many cases. Daksha cursing Narada Muni. We discussed Shringi cursing Parikit. Durvasa Muni cursing lots of people, but Ambarish Maharaj is the famous example in the Bhagavatam. Thanks for that, Nikunja. My wife, Sri Gandharvika, joins us from here in New York City. Sri Gandharvika says, Haribol. Welcome, Sri Gandharvika. Grateful to have you here. Kirtina says, thank you for the class and your reflections. Wade, thank you, Kirtina. Wade joining us from Melbourne, says, Hurricane Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Wade. Michelle says, so happy to hear from you, Sri Prahlada. Thank you, Michelle. I'm happy to hear from you as well. The feelings are mutual. Abhiyatma says, thanks for elaborating on that pass. I'm just putting these up briefly sometimes because they're long and it takes the whole screen. So Abhiyatma says, thanks for elaborating on that pastime, Prabhu. How does Krishna use devotees as instruments in seemingly mundane situations? Is the main connection with the supersoul in such situations? Is the connection with Vrindavan Krishna only for those freed from all anartha and karmic reactions? Good question. So excuse me as I wipe my nose again. How does Krishna use his devotees as instruments in seemingly mundane situations? Is it the supersoul or is it Vrindavan Krishna? It depends on the devotee and the situation. So for Krishna's devotee, we understand that Krishna himself, Vrindavan Krishna, is directly present and involved in our lives. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms this for us in the Madhurya Kadambini. In the Ragavartma Chandrika. He says, Vrindavan Krishna, it seems you're very distracted by your pastimes. You have forgotten your own divinity. Will you hear the prayers of your devotees? Or will these prayers be heard by Paramatma? And he says, it's not satisfying for us that Paramatma will hear our prayers. We want you, Vrindavan Brajendra Nandan, to hear our prayers. So he concludes by offering a prayer and obeisances to Krishna that although you have forgotten your divinity in Vrindavan, still by your pastime potency, you're also going to hear the prayers of your devotees, wherever they are, requesting your presence and guidance and intervention. And so we take it that it is, if the devotee, ye yatamam prapadyante tam stateva bhajamyam. As we approach Krishna, he reciprocates accordingly. When he entered the wrestling arena of Kamsa, the sages saw Paramatma. The devotees saw the Vrishnis, they saw their family member. The devotees saw Vishnu, the Supreme Lord, Narayan. The women of Mathura, some of them, the younger women, they saw Cupid personified. The elderly people of Mathura saw a young boy that they would like to be their child. The Brajbasis, they saw Krishna, their Vrindavan Krishna. So Krishna is all those things. He reciprocates according to how we see him, how we approach him. And so when devotees are trying to share the glories of Vrindavan, Brajendra Nandan Krishna, under the guidance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Sri Rupa and Sanatana and our Guru Varga, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, Srila Prabhupada, then we would understand that it is Vrindavan Krishna, Srimati Radharani, who is sharing their mercy, sharing their influence and guidance, and providing connection to those souls that their devotee is interacting with. So is the connection with Vrindavan Krishna only for those freed from anarthas and karmic reactions? No. Anyone, even with an aspiration for Vrindavan, even those with an aspiration, they receive that reciprocation. That's also there in Raghavartma Chandrika. You will find it. You don't have to be fully pure without karmic reactions or anarthas to approach Vrindavan Dham, to approach Brajendra Nandan Krishna, to approach Gopi Jana Vallabha Krishna. Rather, in the approach, then we are purified. There is reciprocation and there is purification. Sukadev Goswami tells us this. He says, by hearing Krishna's pastimes in Sri Vrindavan Dham, the heart is purified. By hearing of Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, then the Hrid Granta, the knot in the heart of lust, is cut asunder. So no, it is not only those who are completely free of anarthas and karmic reactions who receive the grace of Radha Vrindavan Chandra. Any with that aspiration, under the guidance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and their authorized representatives, will receive that reciprocation. Have no doubt. Thank you for the question, Amayatma. Nikunja says, Prabhu, the Dvadashaditya till is 12 sons. Okay, good. Yeah, thank you. That were called to heed Krishna. I said 10,000. Yeah, thank you. 12, Dvadashaditya. Thank you for that correction. Excellent. We are going to conclude there. We have gone over time. So I appreciate your patience and enthusiasm to stay with me this long. May you deepen your taste for hearing. Actually, I saw a comment there on Instagram earlier, so let's just go. Indra Gopi Devi says, Hare Krishna Prabhu Ji from New Zealand. Beautiful class. Thank you, Indra Gopi. And just let me acknowledge a few of you here. War is sick, is a regular participant. Radhikak 108 is here. Karuna Bhakti 108. Dheeraj Chaudhary, Smrit Parma, Krishna Pandit, Hari Bol 9160, Ketan Gaurachandra, Sunita Pigley, Kapil Dev, Arpan, Keshav, Ravi Talsa, Sachin Dinesh, Arup, Sunil, Aurora, Nilesh, Krishna Ki, Ladu, okay. Ramnat, Sarat, Skoto, and others. Thank you all so much for joining. May you deepen in your taste for hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, for hearing Krishna's pastimes and his teachings. May you deepen in your taste for chanting Krishna's holy names with attention, with devotion. May you continue to develop appreciation for Krishna's appearance in the form of his holy name, of his holy names, and other deities, such as deities made of marble and stone and wood and so on, Sri Vigraha. May you deepen in your appreciation for Krishna's appearance as the holy Dham, his pastime places, which are infused with special spiritual potency, a vibrant spiritual atmosphere that is conducive for advancing in our spiritual practice. And all of this is cultivated in the association of Vaishnavas. Therefore, may you deepen in your loving relationships with Vaishnavas. You're sharing kindness and compassion with junior devotees. You're sharing love and affection with peers, and your service and taking guidance and direction from senior Vaishnavas. May you deepen in these relationships. And through these practices, may your heart soften with compassion that moves you to share the treasures of bhakti with others. We'll conclude here. Thank you very much. We'll see you on Monday. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur